Captain Allison Peters stood tall on the bridge of the UN Firefly. She looked out at the stars through the main view screen. The ship hummed softly around her. At just 180 meters long, the Firefly was small, very small compared to most ships that traveled between stars. But humans had packed it with their best technology. "Captain, the alien ship is approaching," said Lieutenant Olivia Green from her station. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. "It's enormous." Allison nodded calmly, but her heart beat faster. This was it. First contact with the Galactic Council. Humans had been waiting for this day since they first looked up at the stars. The alien ship came into view on the screen. It was massive, at least 20 times larger than the Firefly. Its surface gleamed with a silver-blue metal unknown to Earth science. It moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something so big. "Open a channel," Allison ordered. The screen flickered. A tall, thin being appeared. It had blue-gray skin and large, dark eyes. Behind it stood several other aliens of different shapes and sizes. "I am Ambassador Zortek of the Valerian Empire," the alien said in perfect English. "On behalf of the Galactic Council, I greet the people of Earth. Ambassador Zortek, I am Captain Allison Peters of the United Earth Navy. We welcome you to our solar system." The alien's eyes moved past Allison, examining the bridge of the Firefly. Something like amusement crossed its face. "This is your warship?" the ambassador asked. Admiral Henry Garcia stepped forward. He was Earth's top military leader, sent to represent humanity in this historic meeting. "This is the UN Firefly, one of our most advanced vessels," Admiral Garcia said proudly. A sound came from several of the aliens on screen. It took Allison a moment to realize they were laughing. "Fascinating," said another alien, stepping forward. This one was shorter, with skin that seemed to shimmer like gold dust. "I am Counselor Elvanur of Thessalia. We expected your ships to be larger." Allison felt her face grow warm, but kept her expression neutral. "We've found that size isn't everything, Counselor. Humans have focused on speed and special technology instead of building bigger ships." "An interesting approach," Elvanur said in a tone that suggested it was anything but. "We shall see how that serves you among the stars." The meeting continued for another hour. The council representatives explained that humanity was being offered probationary membership in the Galactic Council. This was a special status for species that were new to space travel. "You will have access to certain trading routes and technologies," Zortek explained. "In time, if you prove yourselves, full membership may be granted." After the aliens ended the transmission, Admiral Garcia turned to Allison. His face was tight with controlled anger. "They think we're children," he said. "Yes, sir," Allison agreed. "They do?" "The Firefly is small by their standards, but what's inside matters more," said Chief Engineer Samuel Washington. He patted the wall of the ship fondly. "They'll learn that soon enough." Admiral Garcia nodded slowly. "Captain Peters, you've been chosen for a special mission. In 6 months, the Council is holding their annual naval exhibition. It's where all member species show off their military ships and skills. Earth has been invited to attend." "And you want the Firefly there," Allison said. "Exactly. The Council thinks size equals power. They've never faced humans in battle." Garcia's eyes narrowed. "They don't understand that we've spent our entire history fighting ourselves. Our ships are small because we've learned to be efficient, deadly efficient." Allison thought about Earth's history. While these aliens had been working together in their council, humans had been fighting war after war. It was not something to be proud of, but it had forced them to become masters of combat and strategy. "Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mitchell, please. Join us," Allison called. A tall man with dark skin walked over from the weapons station. "Captain, we're going to show the Galactic Council what humans can do," she said. "I want you to start planning combat simulations immediately. Focus on fighting larger ships with superior firepower." Ryan smiled. "Just the kind of challenge I like, Captain." "Chief Washington," Allison continued, I want every system on this ship working perfectly. Every advantage we have, I want it ready." "Yes, ma'am," Samuel replied. They won't know what hit them. In the following weeks, the crew of the Firefly trained harder than ever before. They ran simulation after simulation. They practiced fighting ships much larger than their own. They studied the limited information they had on council ships and tactics. One day, Allison found Lieutenant Olivia Green working late in the navigation center. Olivia had dark circles under her eyes, but her face was full of determination. "Lieutenant, you should get some rest," Allison said. Olivia shook her head. "I'm perfecting a new maneuver, Captain. I call it the Firefly Dance. It uses our ship's small size and speed to confuse larger enemies." Allison watched the simulation run on Olivia's screen. The tiny dot that represented the Firefly moved in patterns that seemed random at first, but were actually carefully planned to keep the ship safe while allowing it to attack. "That's brilliant, Lieutenant," Allison said. "Thank you, Captain." Olivia's tired face broke into a smile. "I want those aliens to see what humans can do." As the day of departure approached, Admiral Garcia visited the Firefly one last time. "Captain Peters, you carry Earth's hopes with you," he said as they walked through the ship. "The Council thinks we're weak because we're new to space travel. They think our ships are jokes because they're small." They stopped at a viewpoint where they could see Earth floating in the blackness of space. "Humans have never needed the biggest weapons to win," Garcia continued. "We've survived and thrived because we're smart, because we adapt, because we never, ever give up." Allison nodded. "We won't let Earth down, sir." "I know you won't." Garcia put his hand on her shoulder. "Show them what humanity's small ships can do, Captain." The day finally came. The Firefly moved away from Earth, its engines glowing bright against the darkness of space. As stars streaked past the view screens, Allison gathered her crew. "The Council laughed at our ship," she said. "They think we're primitive and weak because we're small. Soon they'll learn that humanity doesn't need the biggest ships to make the biggest impact." The crew cheered. The Firefly accelerated, heading for the stars, carrying with it the pride and determination of the entire human race. 6 months passed quickly. The UEN Firefly traveled through space toward the Proxima Centauri system. This neutral zone was where the Galactic Council would hold their annual naval exhibition. Captain Allison Peters watched from the bridge as her crew prepared for their arrival. "How much longer, Lieutenant Green?" Allison asked her navigation officer. Olivia checked her screens. 2 hours until we reach the exhibition grounds, Captain." "Is everyone ready?" Allison looked around at her crew. They had trained hard for this moment. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mitchell nodded from the weapons station. "All systems are at peak performance, Captain. The new targeting algorithms are installed and tested. Engine efficiency is up 12%, added Chief Engineer Samuel Washington. "She's running better than ever." Allison smiled. "Good. We'll need every advantage we can get." The Firefly dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Proxima Centauri. Immediately, the crew gasped. Dozens of massive ships filled the space around them. Council vessels of all shapes and sizes gathered for the exhibition. Each one dwarfed the human ship. "My God," whispered Olivia. "They're even bigger than we thought." A communication alert sounded. Allison straightened her uniform. On screen, a large, red-skinned alien appeared. He had 4 eyes and wore an elaborate uniform, covered in medals. "This is Commander Drav of the Arconian Empire," he said. "Identify yourselves." "Captain Allison Peters of the United Earth Navy vessel Firefly. We're here for the exhibition." All 4 of Drav's eyes widened, then his mouth split into what might have been a smile. "They've sent a shuttle to compete with battleships," he said loudly, clearly speaking to someone off-screen. Allison kept her face calm. "We look forward to the competition, Commander." "I'm sure you do," Drav replied with a laugh. "Follow the beacon to your assigned position. Try not to get lost among the real ships." The screen went dark. Ryan's hands tightened on his console. "Captain, I think I might aim a little harder during the simulations." "Steady, Lieutenant Commander," Allison said, though she shared his feelings. "Let's stay professional." The Firefly moved to its position among the gathered ships. From every direction they received curious and often mocking communications. The human vessel was by far the smallest military ship present. A general announcement came through from the council. All ships prepare for welcoming ceremony. Representatives should board shuttlecraft and proceed to the council platform. Allison met with her senior officers before departing. Remember, no matter what they say, we know what we can do. Stay focused on our plan. The council platform was a massive space station. Inside, representatives from all council species gathered in a grand hall. Allison and her officers found themselves surrounded by aliens of all types. Some were tall and thin, others short and wide. Some had scales, others fur or feathers. But they all had one thing in common. They looked at the humans with amusement. Military advisor Vexra, a tall, insect-like being, stood on a raised platform. "Welcome to the 237th Annual Naval Exhibition," he announced. "This year we welcome our newest probationary members, the humans of Earth." Murmurs and chuckles spread through the crowd. Allison stood straight, ignoring them. "The main event will begin tomorrow," Vexra continued. "A series of combat simulations will test each species' naval capabilities. These are non-lethal exercises. Energy markers will indicate hits. Ship systems will temporarily shut down when struck." Allison listened carefully as Vexra explained the rules. The simulations would pit ships against each other in one-on-one battles. The goal was to disable the opponent's key systems without destroying their vessel. After the ceremony, a tall, blue-skinned alien approached the humans. "I am Ambassador Zortek of the Valerian Empire," he said. "We met during first contact." "I remember," Allison replied coolly. "Your ship will face our Imperial Fist in the first round tomorrow." Zortek's mouth twitched in what Allison now recognized as a smile. "Try not to be too discouraged when you lose. It is an honor simply to participate." As the ambassador walked away, Samuel muttered, "The Imperial Fist? That's one of their battle cruisers. It's 15 times our size." "They're trying to humiliate us," Ryan said. "Then they'll be surprised," Allison replied. "Let's get back to the ship. We have planning to do." On the Firefly, the crew gathered in the tactical room. Images of the Imperial Fist floated above the table. "Look at this," Olivia said, pointing to the alien ship's design. "Their shields are strong, but they take almost 40 seconds to fully power up." Ryan nodded. "And their main weapons are all forward-facing. They expect enemies to fight head-on. All. These council ships have the same basic design," Samuel noted. "They're built for direct battles between large vessels. They line up and hammer each other with big guns." "But that's not how humans fight," Allison said. She looked at her crew. "We've spent our history learning to overcome stronger opponents. We use speed, surprise, and targeting weak points." She brought up a new image. "Their propulsion systems have external cooling vents here and here." She pointed to spots on the underside of the Imperial Fist. "And their sensor arrays are exposed along the dorsal ridge." Ryan smiled as he understood her plan. "We don't need to overpower them. We just need to blind them and slow them down." "Exactly," Allison said. "Lieutenant Green, how fast can you execute Pattern Delta?" Olivia thought for a moment. "With the improved engines? Under 20 seconds. "Perfect." Allison looked at each of her officers. "They expect us to fight by their rules, in their way. But that's not how humans survived for thousands of years." The crew spent hours refining their plan. They studied every detail of the Imperial Fist. They ran simulations again and again until each person knew exactly what to do. Late that night, Allison stood alone on the observation deck. The massive council ships surrounded the tiny Firefly. Their lights glowed in the darkness of space, a constant reminder of how small humans were in this vast galaxy. A notification beeped on her personal device. It was a message from Admiral Garcia back on Earth. "All of humanity is watching, Captain. Show them what we can do." Allison looked out at the stars. Tomorrow, the Council would finally see what humans were truly capable of. They would learn that sometimes the smallest ships could be the most dangerous. She smiled to herself. The Valerians, Arconians, and other Council races had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. They had grown comfortable, predictable. Humans had never had that luxury. On Earth, those who became predictable didn't survive for long. "Sleep well," she whispered to the distant Imperial Fist. "Tomorrow, everything changes." Morning came. The crew of the Firefly ate breakfast in silence. Each person thought about the coming battle. They were not afraid, but they knew much was at stake. The honor of Earth depended on what they did today. 10 minutes until the simulation begins, announced Lieutenant Olivia Green. Captain Allison Peters looked at her crew. "Remember your training, remember the plan. The Imperial Fist is bigger and stronger, but we are faster and smarter." The crew moved to their stations. The bridge was quiet except for the soft beeping of computers and the hum of the engines. Through the view screen they could see the massive Imperial Fist moving into position. The Valerian battlecruiser was huge, shaped like a giant spear with glowing blue engines at its rear. "All ships prepare for combat simulation," said the voice of military advisor Vexra over the communication system. "Simulation begins in 3, 2, 1, engage!" The Imperial Fist began to power up its forward shields. Blue energy glowed around its front section. Its main weapons slowly charged, lights running along the sides of the massive guns. "They're following standard Council battle procedures," said Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mitchell from the weapons station. "Full shields forward, main guns charging. They expect us to do the same." "But we won't," said Allison. "All power to engines. Execute pattern Delta now." The Firefly shot forward at incredible speed. But instead of heading straight at the Imperial Fist, it dove sharply downward. The human ship moved beneath the massive alien vessel. On the observation deck, the Council representatives watched in confusion. "What are they doing?" asked Counselor Elvanur. "They cannot possibly hope to penetrate our shields with such tiny weapons." Admiral Garcia, who stood among the alien officials, smiled slightly but said nothing. Inside the Imperial Fist, the Valerian commander, Teg Rix, frowned. "Where did they go?" he asked his sensor officer. "They are beneath us, Commander," the officer replied. "But our main weapons cannot target them there." "Ridiculous," Teg Rix said. "Rotate the ship, bring our guns to bear." But the Imperial Fist was huge and slow to turn. By the time it began to move, the Firefly was already in position. "Target their propulsion exhaust ports," ordered Allison. "Fire when ready." Ryan's fingers flew across his console. "Firing solution ready, Captain. Firing now." The Firefly's lasers shot out with perfect accuracy. They did not hit the Imperial Fist's strong shields. Instead, they struck the cooling vents on the underside of the ship. A vulnerable area the Valerians had never needed to protect because no one had ever attacked them there before. The simulation marked several systems on the Imperial Fist as damaged. The giant ship's engines sputtered. "What is happening?" demanded Teg Rix. "How are they hitting us through our shields?" "They are not attacking the shielded areas, Commander," his tactical officer explained, sounding surprised. "They are targeting specific weak points." On the Firefly, Olivia executed a complex series of maneuvers. The small human ship darted around, the Imperial Fist like a bee around a bear. The alien vessel tried to track them with its weapons, but the Firefly moved too quickly. "This is not proper naval combat," protested Teg Rix over the open channel. "You must engage our forward shields." "Directly, says who," muttered Allison. Then more loudly she replied, "We prefer to fight our own way, Commander." The Firefly continued its attack. Each shot was carefully aimed at a specific point: sensor arrays, communication dishes, thruster controls. None of these were protected by the Imperial Fist's powerful shields, which were designed to stop massive energy weapons, not precise small-scale attacks. Within minutes, the simulation reported that the Imperial Fist's engines, sensors, and main weapons were disabled. The giant ship floated helplessly in space. The Firefly hovered nearby, barely damaged. Silence fell over the observation deck. The Council representatives stared in shock. Then Admiral Garcia spoke. "Humanity didn't survive by being bigger," he, said calmly. "We survived by being smarter and more adaptable." The simulation ended. The Imperial Fist systems came back online. The Valerian ship moved slowly back to its position. A communication came through to the Firefly. It was Tegrix, the Valerian commander. His face showed a mixture of anger and confusion. "How did you defeat us?" he asked. "Your ship is tiny. Your weapons are weak." "Size isn't everything, Commander," replied Allison. "Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've learned to use every advantage we have." "This is not how battles are fought among the council races," Tegrix said. "Perhaps that's why you were so easy to defeat," said Ryan. Allison gave him a sharp look, but she secretly agreed. The day continued with more simulations. Each time the Firefly faced a larger, more powerful opponent, and each time the human ship emerged victorious. They never fought the way the council ships expected. They used speed and surprise. They targeted weak points. They changed tactics for each battle. By the end of the day, the mood on the observation deck had changed. The council representatives no longer laughed at the small human ship. They watched it with new respect, and some with fear. "The next simulation will begin in 1 hour," announced Vexra. "The human vessel Firefly will face the Arconian dreadnought Warhammer." After the announcement, Allison called her crew together in the tactical room. "You've all done amazingly well today," she said. "But the Warhammer will be our toughest challenge yet. It's even bigger than the Imperial Fist, and the Arconians have been watching our tactics. They'll try to protect their weak points," said Samuel, "and they'll have weapons covering all angles. So we need a new approach," said Allison, "something they haven't seen yet." The crew began planning. They studied the design of the Warhammer, looking for any vulnerability they could exploit. The Arconian ship was massive, with multiple weapon systems and strong shields all around. "What about their internal communication system?" asked Olivia suddenly. "If we could jam it or feed it false information?" Ryan's eyes lit up. "Electronic warfare. We could make their own systems work against them." "Exactly," said Allison. "We can't overpower them, but we might be able to outsmart them." As they refined their plan, a strange alarm suddenly blared throughout the exhibition area. It was not part of the simulation. "All vessels, this is Military Advisor Vexra," came an urgent voice over the communication system. "We have detected unknown ships entering the system. They are not responding to hails. All ships prepare for possible hostile action. This is not a simulation. Repeat, this is not a simulation." Allison rushed to the bridge. "Status report. Multiple vessels approaching. At high speed," reported Olivia. "They don't match any known council designs." On the view screen, strange organic-looking ships appeared. They were black and purple, with shapes that seemed to shift and change. They moved with incredible speed and purpose. "The council is ordering all ships to form a defensive line," said Ryan. Allison looked at the approaching ships. Then she smiled slightly. "It seems we might get to show what we can really do sooner than expected," she said. "Battle stations, everyone. This is no longer a game." The strange ships moved closer. There were 12 of them, each about half the size of the Imperial Fist, but much larger than the Firefly. They had no clear shape, looking more like living creatures than machines. Their surfaces rippled and changed, dark purple and black like bruises in space. "All council vessels, form defensive formation Alpha," ordered Military Advisor Vexra. "Prepare to engage unknown hostiles." The massive council ships began to move into a large circle, facing outward. They were slow to respond, their crews not used to real combat. "Who are they?" Allison asked, watching the approaching ships carefully. A message came through from the council platform. It was Admiral Garcia. "Captain Peters, we just got information from the council database. They believe these are Klazari vessels." Klazari? Allison had never heard the name. "A nomadic warrior race from beyond council space," Garcia explained, quickly. "They've attacked outer colonies before but never ventured this deep into council territory." Allison noticed that the council ships were still trying to form their defensive circle. It would take them minutes to get into position. The Klazari ships would reach them before then. "We need to buy them time," she said to her crew. "Olivia, plot an intercept course. Maximum speed, Captain." Ryan looked surprised. We're going to engage them alone? Just temporarily, Allison said. We need to slow them down until the Council fleet is ready. The Firefly shot forward, moving much faster than any of the Council vessels. It raced toward the approaching Klazari ships. On the Council platform, the aliens watched in shock. What are the humans doing? Asked Counselor Elvanur. They will be destroyed. Perhaps not, said Admiral Garcia. Watch and learn. The Firefly reached the Klazari formation. Instead of attacking, it began to dance around the alien vessels, moving in complex patterns. It fired quick shots at different ships, not trying to cause serious damage, but drawing their attention. They're following us, reported Ryan. We've got 5 of them breaking formation to chase us. Good, said Allison. Lead them away from the main fleet. Olivia, execute the Firefly dance you designed. The human ship spun and twisted through space, staying just ahead of the pursuing Klazari vessels. It was like watching a small bird tease much larger predators. Meanwhile, the Council ships finally formed their defensive circle. The remaining Klazari vessels attacked them directly. To everyone's horror, the aliens fired strange energy weapons that seemed to pass right through the Council ships' shields. How is that possible? Gasped Tegrix from the Imperial Fist. The Council ships began to fall one by one. Their mighty weapons fired back, but the Klazari vessels were fast and their attacks precise. It was clear they had studied Council battle tactics. Allison watched the battle on her screens while still evading the ships chasing her. They're using our tactics, she realized. They're targeting weak points just like we did in the simulations. She made a quick decision. All Council vessels, this is Captain Peters of Earth, she broadcast. Form up behind the Firefly, match our movements and target what we target. There was a pause. Then surprisingly, it was Tegrix who responded first. This is Commander Tegrix of the Imperial Fist. We will follow your lead, human. One by one, the remaining Council ships acknowledged. They broke their circle formation and moved to follow the Firefly. I have an idea, said Chief Engineer Samuel Washington. Our experimental EMP generators. They might disrupt the Klazari ships. But they're biological ships, said Ryan. They still need electronic systems for navigation and weapons, Samuel argued. It's worth a try. Do it, ordered Allison. Olivia, bring us back toward the main battle. Get the pursuing ships to follow us. The Firefly turned sharply, heading straight back toward the remaining Council fleet. The 5 Klazari ships followed, eager to catch the annoying human vessel. All Council ships, prepare to fire on my mark, Allison broadcast. Target the points I'm sending to your tactical officers now. She transmitted the data. Each Council ship would target a specific part of each Klazari vessel, based on what they had observed about the aliens' attack patterns. Samuel, how close do we need to be for the EMP? Allison asked. About 5,000 kilometers, he replied. But it's a one-shot device. We'll only get one chance. That's all we need, Allison said confidently. Olivia, get us into position. The Firefly raced toward the main battle area. Behind it came the 5 pursuing Klazari ships. Ahead, the remaining Council vessels waited, their weapons ready. Almost there, said Olivia, her hands moving quickly over her controls. 4,000 kilometers. 3,000. All ships prepare to fire, ordered Allison. On my mark. 2,000 kilometers. 1,000. Now, Samuel, Allison shouted. Samuel activated the electromagnetic pulse generator. A wave of invisible energy burst from the Firefly, spreading outward. It washed over the nearest Klazari ships. The effect was immediate. The alien vessels stuttered in space, their movements becoming jerky and uncoordinated. Fire, Allison commanded. The Council ships fired in perfect coordination. Each one targeted specific weak points on the Klazari vessels. Without their electronic systems working properly, the alien ships couldn't evade. The combined firepower of the Council fleet tore through them. 3 Klazari ships exploded immediately. 2 more drifted, heavily damaged. The remaining aliens, seeing their advantage lost, turned and fled the system. Silence fell over the communication channels. Then cheers erupted from the Council ships. They had won, but not in the way they were used to fighting. All vessels return to exhibition grounds, came Vexra's voice, sounding both relieved and amazed. The threat has been neutralized. As the ships returned, messages poured into the Firefly from every council vessel. They were all the same. Thank you, and how did you know what to do? Allison received a private message from Commander Tegrix of the Imperial Fist. Captain Peters, I must admit I was wrong about humans and your small ships. You saved many lives today with your unconventional tactics. Thank you, Commander, Allison replied. Sometimes being small has its advantages. The council ships formed an honor guard around the tiny Firefly as they returned to the exhibition grounds. The same ships that had mocked the human vessel now treated it with the highest respect. On the observation deck, the council representatives waited to greet the human crew. Admiral Garcia stood among them, his face proud. The Klazari have attacked council ships before, said Counselor Elvanur. But never have they been defeated so thoroughly. How did you know what to do? Allison looked at her crew, then back at the council representatives. On Earth we have a saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Humans have always had to fight against larger, stronger opponents. We've learned to adapt, to find weaknesses, to work together. Military advisor Vexra stepped forward. Today, the Galactic Council has learned a valuable lesson from our newest members. Size is not the measure of strength. Innovation, adaptability, and courage matter more. For the first time since arriving, Captain Allison Peters felt truly proud. The Council had laughed at humanity's small ships. They weren't laughing anymore. 3 days after the battle with the Klazari, the Grand Council chamber was filled with representatives from every member species. The room was huge, with tall pillars and a domed ceiling that showed the stars outside. In the center was a circular platform where speakers could address the council. Captain Allison Peters and her crew stood on this platform. They wore their best uniforms. Every alien eye in the room was on them. Counselor Elvanur rose from her seat. The golden-skinned Thessalian moved with grace despite her age. She spoke in a clear voice that carried throughout the chamber. Today, we are here to honor the crew of the human vessel Firefly, she said. They have shown us the true meaning of courage and innovation. The chamber was silent. Just days ago, many of these same aliens had laughed at the small human ship. Now they listened with respect. For centuries, the council races have built bigger ships with stronger weapons, Elvanur continued. We thought this was the only path to security in our galaxy. The humans have proved us wrong. Military advisor Vexra stepped forward. In his hands, he held a small box. Captain Allison Peters and the crew of the Firefly, the Council awards you the Star of Galactic Unity, our highest honor. He opened the box. Inside was a beautiful medal shaped like a star with many points. Each point represented one of the Council member races. Vexra placed the medal around Allison's neck. Thank you, Allison said simply. She was not used to making speeches, but she knew she must say something. Humans are new to space travel, but we are not new to survival. On Earth, we learned that the strongest are not always the biggest. Sometimes the smallest creatures are the most dangerous. Her words were translated for all the aliens to hear. Many nodded in understanding. We look forward to learning from the council races, Allison continued, and perhaps you can learn something from us as well. After the ceremony, Admiral Garcia met with the council leadership. When he returned to where the Firefly crew waited, his face showed both pride and excitement. Captain Peters, the council has made a decision, he said. Earth has been granted full membership status effective immediately. The crew looked at each other in amazement. Full membership usually took decades to achieve. Earth had earned it in just days. There's more, Garcia continued. I have been appointed as Earth's first representative to the Council's Defense Committee. We will help integrate human tactical thinking into Council strategy. Congratulations, Admiral, Allison said with a smile. They couldn't have chosen better. And you, Captain, Garcia said, have been asked to lead a special new program. The Council wants you to train their ship captains in what they're calling adaptable warfare techniques. Allison was surprised. Me? Teaching Council captains? Who better? Asked Garcia. You showed them what a small ship with a smart crew can do. The next day, as the Firefly prepared to return to Earth, Allison received a message. It was from Commander Tegrix of the Imperial Fist, the Valerian ship she had defeated in the simulation. "Captain Peters," Tegrix said, his blue face solemn on the screen. "I wish to speak with you before you depart." "Of course, Commander," Allison replied. "You're welcome aboard the Firefly." When Tegrix arrived, he had to duck to enter the human ship. His tall frame made the corridors seem even smaller. Allison met him in the conference room. "Your vessel is—" Tegrix hesitated. "Small?" Allison suggested with a smile. "Efficient," Tegrix corrected. "I have been a ship commander for over 30 cycles. In all that time, I never considered that a smaller vessel could have advantages." He placed a small object on the table. It was a model of the Imperial Fist, beautifully crafted in silver metal. "A gift," he said, "to remind you of our first battle and the lesson you taught me." Allison accepted the model. "Thank you, Commander. Perhaps someday our ships will fight side by side rather than against each other." "I would be honored," Tegrix said. "I have requested to be among the first to join your training program." After Tegrix left, Allison gathered her crew one last time before they departed for Earth. "We came here as outsiders," she said, looking at each face in turn. "We were mocked and underestimated, but when the real threat came, we proved our worth. And now they're asking us to teach them," said Lieutenant Commander Ryan Mitchell with a grin. "Exactly," Allison nodded. "Earth has much to learn from the Council races. They have technologies we've only dreamed of. But they also have much to learn from us. Like how to actually fight," added Chief Engineer Samuel Washington. "Like how to adapt," Allison corrected. "How to think differently when faced with new challenges." As the Firefly broke orbit and set course for Earth, Allison stood on the observation deck. The stars stretched out before her, endless possibilities, in the darkness of space. Earth was no longer alone in the galaxy. They were part of something bigger now. Admiral Garcia had sent one final message before they departed. Your mission was to show the Council what humanity's small ships could do. Mission accomplished, Captain. 6 months later, the first group of Council captains arrived on Earth to begin training. They came from every member species: Valerians, Thessalians, Arconians, and a dozen others. Each brought their own ships, massive vessels that dwarfed Earth's small fleet. On the first day of training, Captain Peters stood before them. Behind her was a view screen showing the UEN Firefly floating in orbit. "Welcome to Earth," she said to the alien captains. "You have come to learn how humans fight, how we think, how we survive. Our ships may be small, but our ideas are powerful. Our first lesson begins today. We will not be using simulators. You will take your ships into Earth orbit, and you will try to catch the Firefly." The alien captains looked confused. One Arconian raised his hand. "All of us? Against one small ship?" Allison smiled. "Trust me, it will be harder than you think." As the aliens filed out to return to their ships, Allison's communication device beeped. It was Admiral Garcia from the Council headquarters. "How are the new students?" he asked. "Confident," Allison replied. "But they'll learn." "The Council representatives send their regards," Garcia said. "They're already implementing some of your tactical suggestions in the outer colonies. Early reports show a 20% increase in defense effectiveness." "That's just the beginning," Allison said. "By the time we're done, the entire galaxy will know what humanity's small ships can do." She ended the call and looked out the window. In the sky above, barely visible in the daylight, were the massive shapes of the Council ships in orbit. Soon those ships would be chasing the Firefly, learning the hard lessons that humanity had learned over centuries of conflict and survival. They had laughed at humanity's small ships. They weren't laughing anymore. Now, they were learning.